On this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq, an operational update on the growing Iraqi Navy. And we head to southern Iraq for an in-depth look at the Basrah airport. These stories and more in today's FJI. Hello, I'm Air Force Sergeant Braden Smith. Welcome to this edition of Freedom Journal Iraq. Iraqi forces continue to make progress with security operations on the ground and at sea. Airman First Class Priscilla Christensen tells us how the Iraqi Navy is building up its forces and capabilities in southern Iraq.
Today, the Iraqi Navy is 1,900 sailors strong and working with coalition naval forces to build up their fleet and responsibilities so they can regain control of the country's coastline.
The Iraqi Navy and coalition naval forces partner in critically important maritime missions that include maintaining security and stability in the Iraqi territorial waters, monitoring maritime traffic, protecting commercial shipping into and out of Iraqi ports, and protecting Iraq's coastline and infrastructure from any potential threats.
The nature of the new Navy is not to form a threat to the neighbors as much as we would like to protect our people. The end of building a naval system would be to ensure the security of our country.
The Iraqi and coalition forces partnership also includes protecting Iraq's oil terminals, which helps bring in more than 90% of the country's national revenue.
These offshore terminals are the primary node for exporting Iraqi oil. These oil revenues are essential to the Prime Minister's revitalization, reconstruction, and economic development programs.
Admiral Driscoll says there is no timetable to handing over full operations to Iraq's naval forces. By the end of next year, Iraq's Navy expects to almost double their force by 1,100 personnel. Airman First Class Priscilla Christensen, Baghdad.
The economic development that tourism could bring to southeastern Iraq is driving a redevelopment team's efforts in Basrah. Petty Officer Patrick Dilley has a story.
Only 3 to 5 commercial flights fly in and out of Basrah International Airport each day, with an average of 3,000 passengers moving through the terminal each month. In order for Basrah to develop into a Middle Eastern hub, those numbers would have to increase dramatically. Reconstruction officials have spent more than $25 million so far in their effort to build up the facility.
We've been doing it now for about 5 years with investment both from the US and from the UK, getting the projects, training the staff, air traffic controllers, firemen, and Iraqi management staff as well, to try and bring it up to, I'd like to say Dubai, but we're a long way from Dubai at the moment. But really just a small provincial airport at the present time is where we're at.
Now we have many projects supported by US money and British money. And there's also some money supported by Iraqi government.
Since opening in the late 80s, Basra's routine traffic has been domestic, mostly to Baghdad and other major cities within the country. Since mid-2003, the list of destinations has grown to include Jordan and Dubai, and airport officials plan to add Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, and European destinations as well.
We're a good 3 or 4 years away from that at present time. The international accreditation has got very strict codes for security, for your optional extras in here as well.
These include functional jetways, luggage carousels, immigration and customs checkpoints, and significant increases in airport security.
You've got to have delineation as well between airside and groundside, which we haven't really got at the present time.
Construction and renovation of air traffic controller communication systems, air navigation aids, terminal and airfield power and lighting all form the current modernization program. Crews are making updates within the terminal to make way for airline companies and commercial agencies. The Iraqi government plans to take over airport operation in early November and continue to work toward meeting International Civil Aviation Organization standards.
But all we're going to be handing back there is very much a daylight hours commercial airport that can run 3 or 5 commercial flights per day and nothing more. This will not be Dubai when we hand it back.
But it will be closer than ever to handling international travelers. Petty Officer Patrick Dilley, Basrah, Iraq.
Coming up, an airman in Kirkuk plays a unique tune for the troops.
Here's your raid report.
In eastern Baghdad, coalition soldiers detained a suspected special groups criminal leader. The man is suspected of placing roadside bombs that injured and killed Iraqi citizens and security and coalition forces soldiers. The Tikrit Special Weapons and Tactics Team detained a key suspected al-Qaeda in Iraq weapons facilitator. The suspect is believed to have facilitated weapons for members of the Islamic State of Iraq and al-Qaeda in Iraq. Iraqi security forces and coalition soldiers seized a weapons cache in Baghdad's Rashid district. The cache contained an improvised explosive device, AK-47s, and mortar rounds. In Baghdad's Rashid district, the Sons of Iraq were notified of a cache by a local resident. The Sons of Iraq members secured a Russian hand grenade and an improvised hand grenade, and then called in an explosive ordnance disposal team to search the rest of the cache. And that's your raid report. I'm Senior Airman Michael Williams.
Here are the latest Operation Iraqi Freedom headlines. Iraq and China decided to activate an oil deal worth over $1 billion. The Iraqi oil ministry said it expected to come to an agreement with China this month to develop the oil field. Georgian forces in Iraq began redeploying on Sunday. Georgia's military presence in Iraq was recently the third largest contingent, with just under 2,000 troops. In less than a year, the number of U.S. troops deployed to the Anbar province dropped from 37,000 to 25,000. The Multinational Forces West commander, Major General Kelly, recommends an additional drawdown of troops in the province. Iraqi politicians say the non-oil private sector economy is stagnant. To solve the problem, the government is funding loans to small businesses. Those are your headlines from around the region. I'm Airman First Class Priscilla Christensen.
During downtime, service members often trade in their weapons for musical instruments. Specialist Luke Allen tells us a story of an Air Force reservist who is using his time down range to practice his love for bagpipes.
It all started when Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Larry Lane heard the unfamiliar sound of bagpipes coming from his chapel at Fob Warrior, Iraq.
I kept hearing the bagpipes, and I assumed it was on a television program because we have televisions going in our chapel. And then about 15 minutes later, I continued to hear the bagpipes, so I went out and looked in the chapel, and there's this young man just playing a wonderful rendition of Amazing Grace, and I actually was going to wait until he finished, and then he finished and he was gone, and so I put out an all-points bulletin to locate this guy, and sure enough, he wasn't very hard to find. A bagpipe player in the midst of a forward operating base can't hide for very long.
So why did an airman stationed in Iraq bring his bagpipes to a combat zone?
Basically, I brought my bagpipes here for a couple of reasons. One is that it's just something to do on my time off. Basically, it's an instrument where you got to kind of keep current with it. It's very difficult to put them down for 7 months and pick them up again and start playing again.
In addition to being a part of the 506 Air Expeditionary Unit's base security, Tech Sergeant Kevin Harford is also an NYPD lieutenant back in the States. He said what made him volunteer to come to Iraq were the life-changing events of 9/11.
For about a month, I was down at Ground Zero helping out, and basically mostly what I did was we secured the crime scene, which is actually a huge crime scene. 23 of my police officers got killed. I knew one. I work with the wife of one. So to me, it's very personal, and the only thing I can think of is me being in the reserves, knowing I'm going to get activated and do my part after I help out the city, help out my country. It takes a long time to just learn the music and then learn the pipes, and after that, you got to, with the NYPD Emerald Society pipe and drum band, you got to learn to march and step and play, and so it becomes very complicated. But after a while, you get the hang of it. Except for 9/11, I've had over 20 officers killed in the line of duty, and we do the inspection funerals, and I'm privileged to play for them, so I'm privileged to play for the Army and for the civilian contractors and, of course, for the Air Force.
Reporting for the 1st Brigade, 10th Mountain Division in Kirkuk, Iraq, I'm Specialist Luke Allen.
And that wraps up this edition of our program. Be sure to log on to mnf-iraq.com, where you can learn all about the progress coalition forces are making throughout the country. If you have story ideas, we'd love to hear them. Just email us at fji@iraq.centcom.mil. From all of us here at AFN and Freedom Journal Iraq, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.